what could possibly go wrong? Hello friends, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Rob. This is BigRobsVan, and one of the things I have always been fascinated with is just how much authority we give to people just because they're wearing a uniform. I remember a long time ago, I was standing in a Best Buy and a woman came up to me. She's a relatively short woman, 5'4", 5'5". And she said, "Sir, will you help me get this item off of a higher shelf?" I don't remember what it was. But I said, "Sure." I'm a nice guy, and I got the item down. And then she said, "Also, could you help me get a printer down from the next aisle?" I wasn't doing anything. I said, "Sure." And when I went around, I looked at the printers were like all the way up like 9 feet in the air. And I was staring at it. She said, "Well, shouldn't you get a ladder?" And it dawned on me that she thought I worked at Best Buy because I was wearing a blue polo. It didn't even click until that moment. I had to tell her, "I don't work here." And then she said, "Well, why'd you get the other thing?" I said, "Because I'm a nice guy." So it's so funny, not just how quickly we judge people by what they're wearing, but how we will consent authority to those same people. I remember being a kid, you know, and dressing as a punk little skater and going to places and having people treat me like I was just a little, you know, a little brat. And the other thing is we put a lot of stock into people's faith that they won't abuse that system as well, you know. But it turns out you can buy a lot of things at thrift stores. You can order a lot of things online, you know. You can find workers' coveralls, for example, you know. You can find things from companies that have gone out of business. You might be able to, let's say, find a hard hat. You might find a flashing light for the top of your van. You might find one of those little metal clipboards that those phone company guys use. You might even find some old tools that belong to the phone company. And if you're really unscrupulous, you might even go online and buy yourself a couple of magnets, have them custom made with old phone company logos on them. Is anything what I'm about to do a good idea? Not really. Don't do this. Just don't. But I, on the other hand, am going to do this. And I've got the perfect spot in the middle of town to go try it out.
BigRobsVan is cruising down the old dirt road with me.
Hey friends, I am currently pulled over in this little gravel lot. This is a pull-off in one of my favorite places to go and watch sunsets. You can see literally for miles from this little top of this little hill, and you can get a really good view of sunset. So, you know, one of the things I was thinking about as I was preparing for tonight's camp is that, you know, back in the day when I was younger in the 80s and 90s, if you were to get in a van and go, that was it. You were incommunicado unless you had access to a payphone or later a pager or something like that. You know, there were no cell phones. When I started driving, nobody had cell phones. So that's something that's really changed, I think, about van life in general and that nomadic lifestyle, is that you can disconnect and go, but we are always still tethered just a little bit. Well, guys, this is a cool place to hang out, but unfortunately not stealth camping friendly. So we're going to move over to our next spot, which I think the magnets on the side of the van are going to help me with. Cross your fingers. What on earth could possibly go wrong? I'm just a normal phone repair guy, stealth camping on the side of the road, working next to this phone booth. The phone box telco thing. I guess I should probably learn what it is before somebody asks. Well, we are tucked away inside our little favorite camping spot. You know, I don't know if the Southwestern bell magnets will fool anybody, but I think most people will just see it and just keep driving. They won't think twice about it, you know. I did not only remember to turn off my headlights, but I also turned off the yellow flashing light. So I don't know. I mean, the yellow light, I'm torn. Tell me what you guys think. What would you do? Let me know down in the comments. Part of me wants to leave it on so people think, oh, there's a dude working on the van. Like there's something, you know, something happening there. But the other half is like, I mean, it's 100% drawing attention. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I'm nervous about this one. Also, it's difficult to tell because it's so dark outside, but there's probably 2 full car widths, maybe 2.5 off the road to where this phone box is. So it's not like traffic. I'm not going to get hit by a car. It's not like I'm parked right next to the road. I'm definitely way off the road. So, and there are, this is a rarely or a fairly rural area. So I'm not too worried about that stuff. Anyway, you know, I am a old school computer guy. This is kind of one of those videos where worlds collide, where things cross over. You know, I'm a super old school computer guy. I mean, guy from the 80s. I grew up watching, you know, war games and all those are, you know, Cloak and Dagger, all those early kind of computer crime mystery thriller movies, you know, and so I grew up on 80s computers, calling computer bulletin boards and things like that. And one of the things that I was really infatuated with, I obsessed with, was the phone company. I loved phones. I loved the way that they worked. I loved trying to figure out ways around the way they worked. And so today or tonight, I brought a couple of things for show and tell here for our little payphone episode of Big Rob's Van. So, you know, none of these things are technically illegal to own, and none of them do anything anymore. These are all kind of relics from the past, from Big Rob's Van bag of goodies. So this is the first thing that I wanted to show you. This is what is called a Lineman's handset. There are blue ones and there are red ones, and I have probably a couple of each. So this is, if you worked for the phone company and you went out and did repairs, this is something that you probably would have carried with you. You can see there's a number pad, just like an old school phone that you would dial with, but there's some switches here for testing phone lines and for generating some tone. So this was definitely, if you repaired phones and phone lines, this was something that you would have used. And if you were a little teenager causing mischief, this was an absolutely fun thing to own. Now, if you are old school, you remember how phones used to, you know, your old landline, how it plugged into the jack in the wall. this does have that little jack on the end, but more importantly, this has a pair of alligator clips. And that's what makes this thing so special, is because you could go up to any phone box, like on the outside of someone's house or a business or anything like that, and connect this to their phone connection on the outside of the building and get a dial tone and start doing things you probably shouldn't be doing as a teenager. So anyway, that is called a Lineman's handset. That's one of the, I think I have 4 things that I grabbed in here, yes. So the second thing is, if you, again, are my age, if you're a Gen X person, you probably grew up using payphones. You drove around, back, when I started driving, I did not have a cell phone. Cell phones would be another decade before I had a cell phone. And so if you were out and you needed to call your parents or you needed to call your friends or whatever, you used a payphone. And so I don't expect you to remember this, but when you put a coin inside the slot on the payphone, if you held it up and listened at that exact moment, you would have heard a series of beeps. And in fact, it was 1 beep for a nickel, 2 for a dime, and 5 for a quarter. So if you put a quarter in, it would have went beep, 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 real fast like that. And so now, one of the ways that payphones protected themselves from people just playing that sound is that it would deaden the speaker until there was a coin in, but it didn't care what that coin was. So you could put a nickel inside there, and then if you had something that would make those tones, you could get free calls, and if you did it right, you could even get your nickel back. So the first one that anybody built that someone found of those was in a little box that was red, and so they became known as red boxes. Now, red boxes have no legal use whatsoever. Red boxes were solely used to scam the phone company, payphone owners out of money. And this is a red box. This is what now. Every red box is going to look different because they were all, college or high school projects and things. But what this one does is you can see there's a little button on there, and then there's a little light that would light up when you would play the sounds, and there is a speaker on the back. So literally, you would go up to a payphone, you would put a nickel in there, and then hold it up, and you would hold the speaker, to the phone receiver and press this and put quarters in. So if you were going to call long distance, that might cost like $3 in quarters, but you could just sit here and press the button over and over and over, and and you would be able to make those calls. So this, unlike a Lineman's handset, this actually has no legal use whatsoever. You can hear also there's a battery rattling around inside this. This, if you know where a payphone is that works, then maybe you could probably still use one of these, but today, cell phones, we could call people for free and we could call long distance. So there's really no use for that in today's world, but they certainly were fun back in the 1990s. And finally, and this is really where you could talk about worlds colliding. This, let me find my antenna in here, is my old radio scanner. So if you were really up to no good, you would use this. Now I'm going to take the antenna off here because I can't hold it up quite high enough. But this is a radio scanner. Now these are the types of scanners you would see people have them in their house for monitoring weather. There's nothing illegal about this thing at all. Now there is something unique about this one. When these became popular, first of all, traditionally people had these in their house, and that was all well and good. But then they came out with these handheld ones. Well, they kind of got associated with crime and with criminals because you could listen to police bands, right? So you could hear if the police said, hey, we've got a call for something suspicious, then you would hear it and you would go, oh, we better get out of here. And then pile in the Scooby-Doo van and hit the road. So this is literally just a radio. I mean, it just picks up radio frequencies. So anything that gets broadcast. When I was a kid, a late teenager and late teens, One of the things I love to do is there's a very small band, and so by the way, you would program, you would say like, okay, scan this frequency to this frequency, and then it would just loop through and it would listen for somebody broadcasting. But there was like a small frequency that all the fast food drive-through systems would use. So we would go park outside of McDonald's or Taco Bell and program, and we would sit there and listen and be like, hee, that guy ordered 6 McNuggets. I mean, it's just pointless because you can't broadcast with this. You can't send your voice. You can only listen. But back when everybody had landlines in their house and had the old school cordless phones, you could hear people's cordless phones. So I remember being in my house and you could hear the next door neighbor on their phone. That was a little weird. Like I try not to listen to my neighbors and their phones, but it would do it, right? Well, there's a big section, a big chunk of frequencies that's blocked out of these that gets cellular phone. So you couldn't listen to someone's cell phone normally. But this isn't a normal radio. Because I bought this one from Canada. And the reason that the ones in the US blocked that out is because the FCC made them do that. But the FCC is an American government corporation or American government agency. And Canada does not have the FCC and does not have to follow their rules. So this one is Canadian and it does not have the cell phone signals blocked. So for a long time, this would actually pick up people's cell phone conversations. And I'll tell you, people, I've learned this because I've worked at computer security for a long time. I did phone stuff for a long time. And people have this misnomer that just because they're in their house or just because they're on their home computer or just because they're on the phone in their house, that no one is listening. And you would hear people make the deepest, darkest confessions. I many times I turned this off because I was like, oh, I really don't want to hear that, but you'd hear people ordering things online, calling, and then they'd read their credit card number, read all that stuff, and they're sitting in their house on their phone. They have no idea that I'm in my house 5 houses down the street being able to pick this up. Or the real fun was when you would go park in an apartment complex and then you would hear 200 people's phones and just sit there, and hours of entertainment if you were a misguided youth. So anyway, like I said, none of these things do anything anymore. I will tell you one thing. I'll show you something interesting. The reason, I mean, the radio scanner still works, but there's a reason that most people don't use them anymore, and that is because they have been replaced by apps. So this is an app, and there's a million of them on Facebook, or not Facebook, on the iTunes, or App Store, and they have them for Android and stuff. But what people do is they still have these in their home, and they tune them to different places. So, for example, if I wanted to listen to Oklahoma City's, emergency stuff, I could program in those systems, and I could listen to Oklahoma City, or I could open up this app, start typing Oklahoma City, and then what you would find is someone in their house basically already has this tuned to Oklahoma City, and they're broadcasting it to the internet.
8816 Northwest 113. Calling party's arguing with her husband. He's refusing to leave. Says that he's signal 87. 13, you clear on your 48.
Yeah, we got to turn this off. There's a borderline, there's always been this argument of what's legal and what's not legal when it comes to radios and things like that. Because, I mean, technically, if you have a scanner like this, I'm not going into your house listening to your frequencies. You're broadcasting them to where I'm sitting. You're putting your frequencies in my house, right? So now there is a law. I think it falls under not eavesdropping, but wiretapping, that you can't record anything that you would hear. So my bad on the radio thing, but and I would never do that anyway. But anyway, these are all just kind of relics of the past, good memories and stuff I thought I would bring out for a little show and tell while we are talking about phones and connectivity in the van. So I had a food preparation. I had some dinner planned. I had some other plans, and my AllPowers R2500 battery, which I have reviewed on this channel before, seems to have failed. I'm able to get USB power out of it, and it looks like maybe I'm getting 12 volt power out of it, but the inverter has failed, and I believe what's happened is the fans have failed. I know that when I turn on the inverter, normally when I use something that's a 110, it fires up for about a second, and then the fans kick in, and the fans aren't kicking in, it's just clicking over and over, and the inverter is kicking off immediately. I'm getting an error E12, and I believe E12 is the error I got last time on the first AllPowers unit that I owned that I had to return. So that is in one of my other videos. I did learn a lesson last time because after I bought the battery, I threw away the box. I threw away all the shipping material, and then after the battery failed and I sent them the error, they said, oh, well, you got to mail it back to us. And I didn't have a box, so I had to go buy a shipping box. I had to go buy shipping material, and then get a FedEx label and all that. So, God dang it. So, it appears that I mean, this is a totally new unit. This is a completely different unit, a replacement unit. And it appears that, that it has failed as well. I bought the original one. I don't remember. I think I bought it in April of 2024. I think. And then I had to replace it, and then, God. So, I'm unfolding this right now as I'm thinking here. If I can't, well, there's no 110, I'll have to check the, I'll have to check I got to check the 12 volt adapters, because if that's kicking off as well, then I can't use my CPAP. Oh, you know what? I have the easy longer thing that I reviewed, so I can run my CPAP tonight. But I can't cook in the microwave. I could cook propane stuff, but it's just not that big of a deal. My refrigerator is now off. I turned the battery off, and then I tried turning it back on to reset it. So I reset the battery, and then tried turning everything back on, and it all just failed again. So the reset didn't work. So, God, I got to figure out something other to say other than over and over. So. This is one thing about doing YouTube reviews, is that I've many times, and you've done the same thing, and I've done the same thing. You go to Amazon, and you see stuff that has 5-star reviews, and then people have video reviews like, oh, this is so great. Like, I love this thing. This is such a cool thing, right? And then when you watch the review, they're unboxing it, and so you're like, well, how'd you give it 5 stars if you've never used it? You know what I mean? And I waited 6 months. I had this battery for 6 months before I did the review, and that was why. I didn't want to do a review like, hey, I just got it, and sometimes I do, the easy longer thing, like I had it for about a week, and I did a review, and that's okay. And I've reviewed stuff that I've had for, a day or two. I mean, a gadget, you know what I mean? Like a $10 thing or something like that, because your investment, like if I say this $10 thing is cool, and then you buy it, and it doesn't work out for you, you're out $10. Like I could sleep at night doing that, right? But I mean, this is a $1,000 battery. That this is the second one that's failed, So I'm just kind of running my mouth at the moment, but I'm going to say this. I've always felt like Jackery is number one. We know that. And I've always felt like Blue Eddy is also at the top, right? And then there's this whole second tier, and then there's a far drop, and then there's a third tier, right? So the first battery, the Amudo battery that I had, I mean, it was a far deep tier, and I bought it because it was cheap. Like, it was super cheap. When the Jackeries were $1,000, I caught this thing on sale for $399. It was a 1,000-watt battery. You know, then it failed. And then I couldn't get a hold of the company. They wouldn't respond. And I had to go through Amazon and do all this stuff. And then they said they sent me another one and it got lost in the mail. And they sent a third one. I mean, it was a mess, you know. And so I just said, hey, I'm just going to stick with these names, you know. So anyway, those top tier ones, I always think of Jackery and Blue Eddy as being the top tier. And the second tier, I put AllPowers. I put EcoFlow. I put, you know, there's 2 or 3 other ones, you know, the kind of name brandy ones that aren't those top ones. But they're all seem to be pretty good. Like, they have a pretty good track record. A lot of people have them and use them and stuff. And yeah, I just thought AllPowers is in that. But I got to tell you, 2 failures, 2 separate units in 1 year, less than a year, in 8 months. This will be a new thread. Anyway, it's going to kind of kill some of the other stuff I was planning on doing tonight. So let's, I'll show you the battery right now. And then I'm probably just going to take an early night. Won't be watching TV. I guess I'll watch TV on my phone. Won't be cooking in a microwave. You know, this is something that I talked about too. I'm just rambling now. I'm just rambling. But something that I said about having backups and second backups and stuff like that. But we only have so many, you only have so much space in a van. You have a finite amount of space, you know. So I can't have 2 giant batteries like this. I don't have room for 2 giant batteries like that, you know. So if something fails, and I mean, I am, I don't know, 20 miles from my house. Like, I'm not super far away, right? But imagine being 100 miles away or 200 miles away, or not having a home and then having a failure like this. Then it would super suck. This super sucks. This super sucks. I don't know why these people are always buying diesel heaters. Just buy a pair of coveralls online. It's like, I'm burning up. Oh, God dang it. Do a YouTube channel, they said. Sleep in a van, they said. Buy a big battery, they said. Thanks. So used to using the app, I was like, what? Thank you, man. Thanks. Hey, let me ask you a question real quick. Do you remember across the street there used to be a payphone? Where is that? Oh, interesting. All right, thanks. That is exactly what I was looking for. Hey. Yep, I know where that's at. I am 2 blocks away. Yeah, yeah. I'm right, yeah. I'll meet you there in like 2 minutes. Kids, don't try this at home. for the next part of the video, we're gonna have to go incognito. Yeah, I know. Well, between your tools and mine, I don't know. I mean, it's abandoned, but it is also mounted to concrete, so it's not that abandoned. I don't know. You know what they say? Never trust a guy dressed up as a phone repairman. Oh yeah, you like the magnets?